My name is Jim Arsdall. I teach in the Social Sciences Division at Metro since 1985, where I taught both on campus and I taught some of the earliest video courses that Metro offered. And in that area, it was history and poli-sci. I went full-time in 2000. I like the diversity of students. I particularly like the fact that students here are very open. They have a variety of backgrounds. Any place I've ever taught, this student body is much more diverse, and that keeps me here really. It's always interesting, things are always changing. I was one of the lucky people that got to go in the Army. I actually wasn't drafted, I volunteered. I spent most of my time in the Army in Panama. I worked for an institution that's still very controversial, and that's the United States Army School of the Americas, which trained military officers from most of the Latin American nations. My job was primarily supervising the translation of United States Army materials in English to Spanish. I worked as a continuing education administrator for the College of Medicine and the Medical Center overall. I was involved with dentistry, pharmacy, allied health, and medicine. After being an administrator for over 20 years, that I really liked to be in the classroom. And then I decided to come to Metro and applied and was offered a full-time job here. And I graduated from high school in Florida. I went to Western Carolina, which is one of the campuses of the University of North Carolina, got a bachelor's degree in education. I was offered a fellowship at University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and got a master's in comparative and international education, and then finally I got a doctorate in adult and social policy. The dean of the School of Education at Western Carolina in North Carolina, his name was Bernie Chambers, and where he introduced me to the history of education and the history of educational principles. And so he was a mentor. And a lot of what I've done the rest of my life was based upon what he taught me and the way he guided me. So that definitely was an influence. The other person is much closer to me, much closer in time. When I first started teaching here, I met a fellow named Arthur Duran, who a lot of people here remember. He was a retired Air Force colonel, had come from some of the same military background I'd come from, international, comparative, and working with foreign countries. And he really was an amazing teacher. And I probably don't do it as well as I would like to, but I model a lot of my classes after him. I try to teach all my classes with understanding that we live in an era of globalization. You can't get away from that, and there's lots of positive parts about it that they will apply in their life, probably a lot more than I heard mine, because it's going to affect them a lot more than it's affecting my life. The other thing that influences my philosophy of teaching today is an experience that I had that has nothing to do with the classroom. I had cancer, was diagnosed with cancer about 15 years ago, and have undergone a lot of treatments for that. And and fine today, although I have side effects of radiation and things of that type. Through my surgeon, I met an Irish artist, Mark Gilbert, who had worked on a residency for the Med Center and actually got a PhD in humanities from UNMC. And I was one of 5 people who he did portraits of. and did interviews with, and then his portraits were based upon what he taught to us about and our treatments and how we felt and all of that. I'd never thought about art as being used in that kind of atmosphere, but it certainly is powerful. And through that, quite frankly, I think I have a broader mind today. I think I'm more open with people because I've really started to become more open about my own life. I'm able, as I did with him, because I had about 18 interviews with him as he was painting, able to look at myself more critically and look at things around me more critically and with more sympathy and patience. And that was a great experience. But now I'm starting to see how important art is in everything we teach. iPads, iPhones, iPods, all of this. All of those I see the value of in the classroom and try to use as much as possible in the classroom. It's changed my teaching from much less lecture to much more interaction, and I think very practical interaction in the classroom. So it's definitely been part of my life and continues to be more of it. I would hope that they, number one, are interested and can see personal value in the things that are taught in the classroom. Not something they just studying for a test or something like that, but a personal and very practical application of what they have in the classroom. The things that he taught me, I'm still using today, and that he helped me meet my own needs, and that's what I like to have them remember. The one thing that they taught me is patience, basically, and I'm saying that in a very positive aspect. That 25 years ago, I was very impatient when things didn't go the way I wanted to go, and starting to realize that's the way I should teach, not meet my goals, but basically, in a lot of cases, meet theirs. Number one, patience. Number two, keeping my information I'm teaching in the classroom practical, and keeping it so it can be applied on a day-to-day personal basis. That changes for me as well as it does for them. But basically the challenge is keeping current and keeping things practical and applicable. I judge antique motorcycles. I started to be interested in the history of motorcycles, probably when I was in high school. And several years ago, I took a training course to become an antique motorcycle judge, a national one, and judge antique motorcycles all over the country. Usually in Fremont, there's a national motorcycle show, antique motorcycle show every year here in Fremont. I'm becoming more and more interested in art and going to art exhibits and those types of things. So I think it's about 1,500 years old. It's called Look to This Day. And it says, look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the realities and truths of existence, the joy of growth, the joy of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is already a memory, and tomorrow is only a vision, but today, well lived, makes every yesterday a memory of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. I'm Jim Van Arsdall. I'm an instructor at Metropolitan Community College, teaching history, political science, human relations, and also serving on many, many activities at the college.